Good night, Moon. Okay. Are you guys ready to go?
I yes.
Good. That's one.
Yeah, I guess.
Two.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Um. So you guys are, as I mentioned before, you are traveling now. Why? I'm not entirely sure. Uh, Other than for Joel, whose reason I know. Um, and you were traveling on the northern road. You're headed north to the city of Ilfangul, a relatively speaking new city in the scope of things that exists outside of the control of Argosia, and so to speak, right upon its border. Um, the city of Ilfangul is controlled by the kings in the north, um, specifically someone who is known only mostly by title as of yet. It is called the king of Ilfangul is called Vishen the Red, and it is suspected by some. There are rumblings and mumblings that war is on the horizon, that the Five Kings perhaps are preparing to invade Argosia. In any case, um, you guys are part of a caravan that has been headed on the long journey from the trade city of Stonewall. You left maybe 30 days ago, um, which is roughly a month's time. By the Argosian calendar, roughly 3 weeks. Um, and you have joined up with a fairly large caravan. The trade route is long. It takes about 3 months to get from the last city across the Moorland Road. But um, what you guys have joined up with is a large caravan. There are maybe like 30 wagons.
Wait, guys, I got music for
Um,
this.
okay. Yeah. Uh, there may be 30 wagons. Obviously, you don't know everybody, but by this point, you're familiar with quite a few of the people. And tonight, there is something of a get together to which people have been invited. There's some drinking and gambling going on. There's some music, uh, which if you want to be listening to the music there, you can. I actually have some of what the musician is playing, um, which is it's actually so like this is the video of course is beautiful and people should watch it, but it's actually a single musician playing it, a lizard folk uh, fellow with a he's kind of like a frilled lizard, um, but he's got the long pipe-like instrument that none of you guys really recognize, and he's actually playing the drum with his feet. Um, and there's different games of chance going on. Some people are playing cards, some people are playing dice, um, and there's some raucous amount of jollity that's going on. Maybe 15 people have showed up and are enjoying each other's company under there's two wagons that have been drawn close together, a small tent kind of set up between them. um, the ground is a little bit wet, but it's not particularly bad outside. There's a lot of mist, and as I said, it's dark. Um, and despite the depressive atmosphere of the exterior, the very drab, very gray surroundings, the very flat moorlands off to the west, and just kind of the hint of the greener lands in the east, the farmlands in the east, but with like the the dragon's tail on the horizon, the great mountain range, which extends, and you can see just like the edges at this point of the ancient forest, the Edenwold, that is said to be incredibly dangerous. Um, that is off in the distance, kind of a reminder that you are in the wilder lands. Um, but yeah, there's music, there's um, carousing, there's people trying to keep their spirits up by the use of spirits, and you guys are in this setting. This is where you find yourselves. This scenario. Um, there's a half elfin woman with kind of like a tawdry, colorful outfit, who is enjoying leading people in a shell game going on right now. There's a gentleman playing cards in the corner, a rather rough-looking fellow who is dealing with a even larger, rougher-looking fellow of incredible belligerence. Um, no fights have broken out yet, um, and it is at this point where, um, if you wouldn't mind, I would like you to roll perception checks just so that I can see who hears over the din what goes on. And with this, you can either roll in game client, or if you have dice in front of you, you can roll those depending on your preference. I prefer physical dice, but it is up to the roller. So Joel gets a paltry 19.
Yep, I know.
Ben gets a pretty radical 10. Imagine us playing a game where you had to roll low. Ben and I would be gods.
No, you wouldn't. At that point, the luck would just reverse itself.
Just inverted.
Golf the dice rolling game.
You would be engulfed in bad luck still.
It would be terrible. All right. Has Hannah rolled and I haven't seen it?
No, are you having problems with the roller?
Yeah, I can't remember. My headache is definitely interfering with.
You should be able to click on your character, and there should be a button for skills. I'll go grab you headache meds in the meantime.
Yeah. So on your character sheet, beside all of your skills, there's a little button that you can press to roll that specific skill.
Oh.
So the perception wisdom skill is what we're looking at. As everybody's ears perk up a little at an odd sound.
Except for mine, apparently.
So that's like a base wisdom check.
Apparently, my character has a.
You do have a negative one, so it's the same as your perception, because you don't have it. Okay, I see. So you are deeply invested, whether in music, the drink, or the company. Though you do notice something without has occurred. There's some kind of a clang, a clangor, if you will. But it is amongst the people arrayed. A vendor Zavaria, the previous campaigner, with acute hearing, notices that someone has cried out in the night. It sounded very distressed, accompanied then by the clangor of metal outside of the tent. Back, you know that it was someone.
I look to see if any of the young people notice this going on.
You see a couple people look up, but nobody seems to be particularly worried. There's one person at the edge who opens the tent flap and steps out.
I head out into the night, and if it's dark out, I will light up my staff.
It is very dark, although there are several torches along the line, one of which has fallen onto the ground. And in its light, you can see what looks like a hunched figure crouched on the ground above someone else, feeling at their
At their what, Aaron?
abdomen. It looks like from the distance, like they might be trying to resuscitate them.
I head over and I head over in the direction.
Okay. As you get closer, you see that they are not, in fact, trying to deliver any kind of CPR or medical procedure, but are repeatedly stabbing the person. Who is one of the guards.
I shout and brandish my staff at him. Away from here, foul rogue!
And the person, whoever they may be, looks up, very small. As they do, you see a face that is of a greenish gray color, filled with teeth, blood spattered across it, large eyes. And yes.
Did I hear him? Did I hear?
Everyone can hear a vendor's guffing and scoffing outside. Yes, but he makes a lot of those noises. So whether or not you want to attribute them to some kind.
Hearing his outburst, I would like to follow
Sure.
and check it out.
Sure. So you rush up. I assume you keep your weapon on you.
Oh, definitely.
So a weapon at the ready, and you will be in time to see the thing turn and release kind of like a growl. It's like as it paws at you with one hand, a dagger in the other. And you can hear somewhere that you can't see just now that someone else is tangled with some other creatures making sounds of clanging metal.
What kind of check would it be to determine what sort of thing is before me?
Intelligence, nature.
I have that.
You have a lot of things. All right. This looks like a goblin of the variety that you might find in the wooded areas. They are like a Feywild sort of creature. You know that the gaps between that world and this one are frequent, and the the veil is very thin in a lot of places, particularly the closer that you get to the Ardenwald. There are a lot of crossovers.
I will
These little marauders can come through. They're nasty.
yeah,
Full.
I will loudly shout then, to arms and awareness, goblins are upon us!
Okay.
I
Behind you.
give him a definitely strange look as I continue to hold my.
Well,
rest
I shout to try and, alert the entire camp.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you can hear in the distance then a crash and some screams. And from behind you, there are people bustling out. The little guy in front of you is going to he's going to make a bum rush for you, man. Since this is a thing that is happening now. And in an attempt to try out the new initiative system that we're using, people are going to go all at the same time. So this is like he's definitely moving at you in an attack position, but I think you guys are both ready. So you're going to be able to roll dice and to determine what it is that you want to do. Now he is about 60 feet away from you.
Okay.
And so he's going to try and rush at you. So he's going to move in your direction for now because he has to close the distance.
Right.
What do you guys want to do?
My plan is I will grip my staff in both hands and wind back and prepare to smite him on the head as soon as he is within reach. And just crack him as hard as possible. Baseball bat style, I guess.
All right.
I think my response would be just to try and rush at him.
Okay. All right. So his action is he wants to take like 2 moves. So he's going to throw, for the sake of it, he's going to throw 2d6s because that's a move action. Did you want to? How are you going to handle it? Are you also going to just move like until you are in interception range with him, kind of a thing?
For now, yes.
So then, for you, it will also be a pair of d6s. Ben, are you doing anything yet?
Upon hearing the call to arms, I'm probably going to fall out of the tree that I was perched in,
Okay.
being startled awake by noises,
Sure.
and then stand up. Do we have a map, or does that matter?
Not yet.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, somewhere like in the close vicinity of probably like inside the torch ring around the camp, just like third person falls out of tree.
Third
crashes to the
person falls
ground.
out of the tree. Funk. And in this incident, I'm going to say that we're well and truly asleep, but you'll be about 50 feet away from where the action is to start.
Okay, no problem.
So yeah, so roll the dice, little gobby guy. Okay. So if Joel, so what is the damage dice on your staff?
Two-handed, it's a D8.
Okay, so roll a d8 for
'Kay.
me, and then Hannah, if you would roll a pair of d6s.
Ooh.
You got real good, man.
The one time that ones are actually good.
Yeah. That is less good. And so for the first round anyway, bird person falls out of tree. With a whoomph. The wizard prepares his staff, and the goblin manages to close the distance with the wizard in that single move, but the wizard is ready for him. So if you would like to roll your attack dice against the brigand, you hit him, despite the fact that he's a dodgy little bastard.
Nope, that's a 6.
So you roll your damage dice for your Carter staff. You whack him really good. You are a very strong wizard.
A very strong.
I am interpreting all of these stats as experience rather than actual strength.
Smack him squarely up on the head, and he looks quite dazed, though he's still standing, which is a oddly resilient goblin to have survived the blow that you just gave him. For whatever that's worth. So now it is up to the lady halfling. So you have projected that you are going to move towards him. It only takes you a single move now, and you are engaged, which begins the second round of combat. So what does everybody want to do? Because we all decide our actions at once.
Is there still just one goblin that we can see?
They can see the one goblin. Also away from you at about 70 feet in the caravan, you can see that there is a guard who is beset by 2 goblins of his own, and they are getting the better of him.
Okay, I want to fly towards that guard, and then
Sure.
So I have a fly speed of 50, and then I'm going to use Produce Flame to throw a fireball at him.
Okay.
So
What
Produce
the
Flame
damage?
has a range of 30 feet, so
that's
the
fine.
damage is D8.
Okay, so you'll roll a d6 for the movement and a d8 for the spell to see
Okay.
who goes first, or let's see when it occurs in the lineup. The goblins individually are going to start trying to shank people. So the one in front of Joel's character, Avender, is going to attempt to stab you with his dagger, and the other 2 have slightly larger weapons, and they are going to attempt to eviscerate the guard. So Avender, what are you going to be doing?
I'm going to try and quickly hit the goblin before he hits me. So I'm just going to do quickly hit him with the bottom of the staff and do that one-handed. So it doesn't take as long.
Okay. Sure. So roll me a d6 then. And what would you like to do, Hannah? You are also engaged with the...
I would like to smack him in the face with my axe.
Alright. You have a really big axe.
Uh-huh.
So roll your axe's damage dice.
So to roll, it's /R. And then...
Or you can use... There's a little button up
Oh, yeah. Or you can use
top
the
left.
dice
Oh, yeah, I
rollers.
totally forgot that.
Super easy. And doesn't have you put in macros.
What do I roll for my weapon?
You roll its damage dice, which are for the biggest axe I can find. Ooh. 2012. The biggest. Whoa.
Whoa.
All right.
Well.
So I'm going to have cripes. That's beautiful. Your Dex modifier is a 1. His is a 2. Okay. All right. Well, in that case, what goes on is this: the goblin lunges forward with his BB dagger weapon to try and hit the wizard, screaming, "Feeble old man, get out of our way!" But he rolls poorly. he rolls a 7. So the wizard's like,
Who are
with
you
a
calling
staff,
feeble, foul creature from the Feywilds?
he's like, he looks up at you confused. You, as you like knock his weapon out of the way. And Hannah, it is now Haley's attack. So roll a d20. And then we'll add the proficiency bonus and strength. Oh, it doesn't even matter, man. You. How do you want this goblin served up? Like, how do you like your goblin typically?
Well, typically, I like my goblins filleted and flambéed.
Okay, well, you don't have.
I don't
produced
have fire
flame.
though.
Yeah, so fillet
No.
will have to do for now.
Fillet will have to do.
Okay. So with the first sweep, you take its arm, the extended arm with the dagger, and it turns to you in complete confusion as its arm flies off. And you do a quick spin of the axe, and in a matter of moments, there are like 3 sharp cuts across its midsection. And it staggers backwards, still looking confused, and falls to the ground with like 3 now gaping wounds slowly opening further as it falls apart. On the other side, there is the ever so poor guard who manages to fend off one of the blows from the little goblin folk, but the other lands a nearly critical blow. You can see Ben as it brings down a scimitar across the guy's shoulder, and you would swear that it probably hit an artery. As the blade sinks deep in to the man's armor and flesh underneath. The goblin hanging onto the side of one of the wagons as it swings at him. Because they're really short. And it is your turn now to fly forth and produce flame in one of these things. So you launch yourself into combat. You are using your fly speed? Or is that just your ground speed, the 50?
Fly speed. So,
okay.
Yeah, so he'll kind of like stand up and stagger a little bit, see the goblin, and attempt to start flying in the direction, but he's flying like it's a little lopsided because his wing, like, he didn't get it like fully stretched out after he landed on it, so he's kind of like flying a little sideways.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then from one of his hands, a bit of fire will leap forth, and he'll throw it at the goblin as he's like, he'll throw it like sidearm as he's trying to like fly sideways.
Okay. Zoosh. Oh, that hits. That definitively hits. Roll that DiMaggio. Beautiful damage.
Alright. That's not how you do that. That went well.
You have produced flame, and you. So do you? You're attacking the one who hit the guy, or the one who is currently harrying him?
Whichever one I saw first. So.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how they're positioned, but it would just kind of be like.
Well, there's one kind of hanging off of one of the wagons, and the other one is like at the guy's legs.
Probably the one at the guy's legs.
Okay. Your flame hits him, scorches him, and there may be flambéed goblin. Pretty soon. He nearly collapses, and is now his clothes are smoldering, and you can see spark to flame sort of across his back. You can't tell if he's dead or not, but he is clearly severely injured. You've removed large patches of his clothing, and you can see scorched skin underneath. Um, all right. Next round of combat. So you guys have just dispatched the only goblin that you saw, but you can see a birdman fluttering from a tree. It's the least graceful thing you have ever witnessed. As like, imagine if you will, a humanoid figure with wings sprouting out of its back, collapsing from a tree, and then sort of like hop skipping his way into the air. One wing kind of limply assisting him while the other tries to pump him up, and then he kind of sidearm lobs in an underhanded fireball looking thing. Although you know what fireballs look like, a vendor, and that's a pretty pitiful fireball. But I mean, it's a good effort for a novice. Um, Lobs in, and although to that end, I guess you know, it didn't have the pomp and ceremony of a proper wizard. Um, but you can hear another cry and the clash of metal from that direction, which, as I said before, is about 60 feet away from you until the torch lying on the ground. And the birdman appears to be attacking towards the caravans with his fireballs. Which may or may not be the greatest decision on the planet. You're not sure. Like fireballs and wagons and such. Canvas. Anyway, what would you all like to do?
Move in
Other
the
than
direction of the
bum rush the
screaming.
comp? Okay. So you guys rush that way. I just gotta roll real quick.
Yeah,
This
I'm.
is more for Ben because I assume you guys are hightailing it in that direction.
I am going to stand where I am.
Okay.
And I'm going to prepare to cast magic missile at whatever goblin is still standing once the spell will be released.
All right. So that is a first level magic missile, yeah? Okay. You do not currently have a line of sight on any goblins. Just so that you're aware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't see what the guy's shooting at.
So
You don't see what the Birdman has attacked. You don't see the other guys yet. They are behind a wagon for all intents and purposes. You don't know what further scuffle there is.
Okay. I did not understand that.
That is my bad.
So I will then move into that direction so that I can see what's going on, and I will prepare magic missile to cast it at any foe that could any goblin that could be possibly causing problems on
Sure.
once I have sight.
Sure. So Ben, for this round, it's going to be a rollout between you and the goblins. They're going to continue. Well, one of them's going to try and kill the guy. The other one's going to run because he just got himself absolutely decimated, and he's not particularly brave.
Okay. So I'm gonna say that because of my erratic flight pattern, I'm gonna come back down to the ground
Sure.
at the end of my last movement,
Okay.
and then just attempt to cast another produce flame at the remaining goblin.
All right. So, roll me then your produce flames damage dice. See who kills who. All right. So make your attack roll then, because you actually go before the guy. The first goblin bolts further into the caravan.
All right, killing caravan guards in 3.
You
That's
hit the
better than I thought
goblin.
it was going to be.
You definitely hit him. And he is far less substantial than the other goblin. He's a
Get crit.
meaner dude. But unfortunately, being lean and mean does nothing to help him against a firebolt. Which, now that you're on the ground, you aim way more accurately right into his skull, and it just torches him, clears out his clock, as it were. And it's like, so it hits him in the head, it's like zoosh, and like fire comes out his eyeballs, and he's just like and a final cough as he just collapses to the ground. So you have managed to save the caravan guard, although whether he survives the wound he was given or not, you're unsure about. The other goblin has disappeared further into the caravan train. He like slipped under the wagon and vanished, but you can hear cries elsewhere. A vendor, just so you know, you didn't have the chance to release your spell. Nothing came into view yet. And as you guys rush around the corner, you see a birdman standing over a very charred goblin, and the guard, who is sucking in deep breaths of air as he tries to put pressure on the wound in his shoulder, which is bleeding profusely.
All right, but you said we can hear that there's stuff going on in the rest of the camp.
Yeah, there's some kind of distress, although it's intermittent. It's kind of indistinctly in different pockets all over the place.
All right.
So you hear it further up one direction, further up another direction. You hear a scream, semi close by.
All right. Whichever one sounds closest, I head in that direction as fast as I can.
Okay. You're gonna head towards the scream.
Sure, that's what's closest.
For whoever cares, was a young lady being incredibly frightened by a goblin that is running around with his coat on fire. He was dispatched by a frying pan, for anyone who is worried about him. So you guys, I don't know if you fan out. Do you want to fan out? Do you want to stay where you are? Are you helping people? How does
I would like? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to fly up to the guard and cast. Sorry, I'm gonna. Did you get that?
No.
My mute button's being weird. I'm gonna fly up to the guard and cast Cure Wounds on him.
Okay. All right, you do so. If you want to roll for how many of his wounds you cure. With Cure Wounds, I would love to see it. Is there anything that Haley's going to be doing?
Seeing the wizard run off in one direction and from seeing
Maximum
what he
woundage.
can do, guessing that he's relatively competent, I decide to run off in a different direction and try to help someone else.
All right. So for the sake of what's going on, I'm just going to have you guys make skill checks. So Joel, if you want to roll Arcana to see how effective your spell crafting and casting is to help people with just the basic combat stuff, and then Hannah, if you'd like to roll, you have strength athletics. Do you have athletics? I don't remember what all
I
you
think.
took. You have animal handling. Oh, you do have
Have I?
athletics. So yeah.
Yes, I have athletics.
So roll me athletics just to see how effective your assistance will be in that regard. Yeah, you max out the healing, and his wounds they vanish. They knit together. Who does it?
You lost Ben.
The
He's
guy
back.
I was describing
Yep.
to. Okay. Oh my. Hello, woman. Um. So, uh, what happens is this. You reach out, calling upon the elemental powers that feed you your energy. I don't know what that is for you yet, Ben. Um, but as you do, energy leaves your hand, and it knits its way into the guy's flesh, and you watch the semi uncomfortable image of the healing process uh, sped to an incredible degree. Um, and he gasps as the energy hits him and restructures his shoulder for him. Um, and he looks at you kind of in awe. I mean, besides the fact that you're a bird man, which is pretty great. Um, he looks at you and he says, "Thank you so much." And then his gaze turns to his friend on the ground, who has had his chest cavity hollowed out a little bit by the goblin dagger. Um, and you see him gag a little bit, and he turns aside and begins to heave and vomit as the rush of everything that's going on finally hits him. Um, so you are left um, patting, patting the guy who was vomiting off in the corner. The light of the torch. Yeah, you were extremely competent right there. Hello, dog. Uh, Meanwhile, off in the distance, a vendor, you find that there are small groups of goblins, all attacking in very small party sizes, different parts of the caravan, and you fend them off with a plume and a veil. Your spellcraft flying, your staff cracking a few more across the skulls. It's kind of nice. You haven't done this in a while. I mean, it's like the little boogers are frustrating, but you feel like you haven't lost any of what made you good at this before. Your campaigning days come back pretty quickly, and while they're an absolute nuisance, and the stupid little goblins are everywhere, um, it's ruining perfectly good night and um, glass of whatever you were drinking. Uh, at the same time, there's that preening sense that you got this, you got this. Meanwhile, Haley, elsewhere, you cleave through swaths of these little dudes, um, performing heroic acts that have undoubtedly canonized you in the eyes of the caravaners at the very least, um, worthy of your heritage and certainly of your places. One of the Argosian military. Are you wearing your uniform, by the way, or not?
Uh, no, I am wearing civvies.
Okay. So yeah, you're in travel garb, with a ridiculously large axe,
Yes.
especially for the halfling.
Yes.
Um, and you were just decimating everything before you. Um, and when you get through rescuing one of the groups, um, you find yourself amidst a couple other fighting worthy individuals, one of whom you recognize as the leader of the caravan, who, despicably perhaps, does not speak common. He has had a translator with him most of the time. But one of the people with you guys currently with the swords explains to you that before you got there, um, that they were surprised and beset, and the goblins uh, did not just kill people. It seems that they have taken some of them. that some of the people have been captured and drug away by the little creatures after having been incapacitated either with nets or by the goblins beating them into submission. And they were dragged off in the direction of the moors. And you see them point out to you which way the beasts went. And there's still great confusion going on. It is around this point of Ender that you stumble onto this same scene, having dispatched a number of the little critters yourself, and you notice something out on the moors upon a hill. The mist parts for a moment, and even in the darkness, there is the clear visibility for you that you can see. There is out on the hill a small figure. You could tell even at the distance that he is small, but he's also hunched, so he's exceedingly low to the ground. But you notice him in the light of the flame being produced from the three massive dogs that are surrounding him. There are three large hounds, all of whom seem to have a flame like in their chest cavity, breathing out through their mouths, and they light this figure out on the hill, who is holding up a standard. There is a banner that he holds, and upon the banner you see a symbol, and I'm going to try and draw it for you. Please excuse the pitiable skill that I can exude in this format. But it looks roughly, you'll see it on the map. That's down and to the left. I'm going to be drawing it.
Yep.
So it is with
Eye of Sauron.
spikes pointing inward. And there are, from the base of it, strange tentacular looking protrusions. And while the symbol in
Are
its
these
entirety,
protrusions like moving of their own will, or are they just like flowing in the breeze?
no, so this symbol is on the banner.
Oh,
The banner is a tattered piece of cloth.
okay.
And upon the tattered piece of cloth, a vendor notices this symbol, which in its entirety does not necessarily make sense to you, but you've seen the eye bit before. The tentacles are an addition that you don't understand, but the eye bit is recognizable to you. I don't know about the Birdman, what you have seen up to this point, but you can hear out upon the moorlands the bay of the hounds as they release a cry into the night. Sound of three canine voices in unison, with some haunting melodic context. Vague sound of a distant flame, bonfire. If you look out onto the moors, you will see similarly this event. It is some ways away from you guys. He is distant from you. But this cramped little figure, the small beard protruding out from underneath a crimson red head adornment. You can see the gleam of his little red eyes. Turns away from you, along with the hounds. They move out of sight down below the crest of the hill upon which they stood. The men around you, Haley and Evander, seem a little bit shocked and more than a bit afraid.
Do
By what has
do I know anything in particular about these particular creatures besides the standard?
The dogs or
Both.
the figure or the goblins? Okay. So for the dogs, I guess roll an Arcana check. So you have heard of creatures like this before. You believe that they are conjurations, and due to your special studies on the subject, you have reason to believe that they are the sorts of things, or they are of a nature. The wizards conjure them into this plane from another. And that they have certain ties to the diabolic. But other than that, you don't know anything really specific.
Okay.
The little guy, on the other hand, if you want to roll me a nature check, I can tell you. Well, no, wait, he's actually Arcana. It's okay. You roll a 17.
It's the same skill. They're the same.
Yeah. So for him, on the other hand, you know quite a good deal. First, he is absolutely of Fey origin, and despite the gleaming red eyes and everything, and the hunched disposition, it wasn't any natural creature. It is also a type of conjuration, and the real tip to you was the red hat. They are like goblins in many ways, except that they are completely fabricated. They are originally created from the blood of some hated individual. They're created by a strong magic user, and they are essentially embodiments of the hate that leads to murder. They are sometimes referred to as red caps.
Oh.
And what you know specifically about that hat is the way that it gets its color and the way that it retains its color is that it must be regularly drenched in blood, which also is the force that keeps those creatures alive. Without the hat, without it being drenched in blood regularly, they fade out of existence. But they are also, in a sense, like they are unbound from people in that they follow their own whim, but they are bound in that they are created by the magical force impelled by a wizard of incredible power, at least in your estimation, like in what you understand of them. But you, like other powerful magic users, might be able to create them too.
All right. Do I hear them talking about the people who were taken?
That conversation went down before you got here. So you got here just in time to see the event and the hounds. And now there's just a bunch of people who are kind of shocked into silence as they stare out. The commander is the first one. The leader of the caravan is the first guy to recover his composure, and he starts shouting stuff. But he's shouting in another language. He's shouting in the Ishtari language from the deep south. It bears some basic components of Infernal, so you could understand a couple of the words.
I do speak Infernal, yes.
Yeah, he's not speaking Infernal, but it's similar to it enough that you can get the general gist. He's trying to get people together. He's trying to regroup, so that the caravan can be defended from any remaining enemies and to purge them and to prepare for any future attack that may happen tonight. Essentially, is what you get. But the details of what he's saying, you're not entirely sure. He's just trying to corral people at this point.
All right.
To get some semblance of a command set up. You do see the halfling though from before with the big axe that is covered in blood.
All right. Well, I'm going to do what I can to help stabilize this situation. So, I will, if we are still fighting things off, I will do that. If not, then I will start to turn my abilities towards caring for the wounded, or probably the best place for my skills if combat is no longer taking place.
Yeah, it seems that most of the goblins have been dispatched, either by you, by this Haley person, the little halfling person, who people are talking about all throughout the as you see there's constant reference to the little halfling who swooped in and with deft motions was able to take care of everything. She is quickly becoming the hero of this fight. But the goblins all appear to be dispatched pretty much. There are several wounded, although people as you go to tend to them, they keep asking you about, have you seen someone? Have you seen this person? Have you seen that person? None of whom you really know, so you don't have an answer for them.
No, and trying to look for him with that giant gash in your stomach isn't going to do either one of you any good. Now sit down and let me look at it.
Sure. So make your medicine check to see how many people you fix. And then
a bunch of people.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You are helpful. Not only that, but there are a couple of people who know how to do, and you essentially set up a small triage.
You go get this. You da.
In which you also meet a surprisingly competent third person. Who seems to know what he's doing, even though you're whistling. Go ahead.
Who is just as surprised as you are that.
Yeah, it's not surprising to me he's competent. I've only seen him been competent so far.
Yeah, he seems highly competent.
Yeah, he's my second in charge. I'm like, yeah, I saw what this guy is an amazing healer from all, and a great fighter from all I've seen so far.
He's super gangly and like he does nothing for himself in the way he moves.
I assume that he is like a drunken, like he's kind of trying to do the drunken master thing where he's trying to throw everyone off. That's my assumption.
It's like he's got feathers sticking out in every direction.
Yeah, I just assume that this is an all that he's like
without even telling him what to do, he just does it all. Like anything that you would be doing, and you're like, he's a little weird as far as like how he's handling things. Like his methodology is a little different. He's got some plants that you haven't seen before on his person, but it's effective.
He's a crazy druid. I've met their kind before. I let him do his thing.
Yeah, help people.
Is there grass in this terrain?
Oh, there's grass everywhere. Yeah, you're on moorland. So it's like light turf all over the place.
I want to wipe my axe clean any patch of grass that is not bloodstained.
Yeah. So you wipe down your weapon, taking good care of it. It won't. It will not rust this night.
Good
Although the
to
mists
know.
aren't great for it. The mists aren't great for it, and it's kind of cold, a little chill. Um,
Probably find a change of clothes.
I mean, you're a little mussed up, but most of it is. I mean, none of it is your blood at this point.
Just
The
good.
goblins didn't lay a hand on you, a hand or a weapon for that matter.
I don't really have any skills that would be useful after the battle, I think.
I do killing. That's my job. I kill things.
I kill things and then I'm kind of good. Uh,
I, if you walk
I
by,
sit down.
having proved yourself to be a strong individual, I definitely bark at you to help move some people and things around.
At some point, what ends up happening is this, right? At some point, someone sees you covered in blood, Haley, and they cajole you into the where they've set up the little triage tent, the medic tent. The old guy who you were alongside, the one who like clocked the goblin something fierce.
Right.
You remember because you're like, that dude's like he's human, right? And he's old as dirt. Like you can tell just by looking at him. He's got wrinkles everywhere. He's got a massive beard that curls on its own, apparently. It like he is old. He looks for like what humans, kind of like what your great aunt is to you. And you're like, wow. But he nailed that goblin for being an old dude. That's insane. So like, there's something to this guy, but he takes one look at you and it's like, why is she here? um, because you have not like a scrape on you. Like you
But I just
broke a
cajoled and-
sweat, and that's the worst thing that happened. People think that you might be hurt because you're covered in blood. They don't
But-
realize that it's not yours.
Right. Okay.
So they're all like worried that you might be hurt. You know that the hero might be injured. So they take you in there, and yeah. So old guy is like, what? Why? Why is she here? So he like you get a rag thrown at you, like a damp rag.
I get
Here,
it.
wash yourself off, and you are ordered to help move people and supplies and things so that everything works as
I'll
it should.
I'll give a solemn nod and just kind of do as he says. Like I don't particularly care. I'm like, I did my job.
Yeah.
So all this while I imagine I have like while I'm like tending people, like I'm really like my brain is like racing. It's doing two things at once, and I'm trying to like remember anything about that symbol or try and put the pieces together. Infernal hounds and
So
red cap and tar to the eye of
symbol is something that you actually remember fairly well, because it's a large part of the reason. That
Yeah. No. I got that. I'm trying to put the pieces of how all these things might be connected. That's.
But you've got
Yeah,
no idea, right? And the tentacle thing is the big thing. That's like you're like, I know it's important, but I don't know what it
Right.
means.
That's what he.
And you've never seen it before. Not that you can remember. Like you're jogging your brain, but that's not
Right.
in there.
He's trying to go. I have 3 pieces of the puzzle of a 500-piece puzzle, but he's
Yeah.
trying to see if there are any other pieces he can like remember that he's not remembering. He's like, do I know that?
Yeah, and like you're remembering to yourself like all of the books that you've read on the red caps and stuff. You're remembering like a symposium that you once attended that there was talk about like conjurers. You've met a couple conjurers over your time who might be
All right,
strong
so-
enough to
so,
summon
yeah, so if
that
I
kind of a
understand
red
your-
cap, but none of them like are on your most wanted
Right. So if I
list.
understand correctly, the red cap has free will. is it in any way bound to its summoner, or is it just that most likely that if it's
It could
summoned by someone that
So-
evil, he'll want to hang around and help?
So there's a couple possibilities that spring
Okay.
to mind. It could be acting on its own because red caps can get free, like by killing the people who
Right.
created them. Which is a thing that they have access to if the wizard isn't powerful enough to corral it in the to overpower the red cap. Which seems you're a little iffy about that one. If it was powerful enough to summon it in the first place, then it should be able to control it. But it's happened before. Like they've gotten loose
Right.
before.
The worst option
but
is that the red chap is not the one in charge and is answering to somebody. That is the bad option.
Right. Yeah, and as far as you can think of no other reason for it to have that banner than that it is following someone's orders. Because that symbol basically doesn't appear unless it is controlling the situation somehow. So like that
Right.
is that your thought is that someone's got a hold of this
Yeah.
guy and sent him to do this thing, but you don't know why yet because as far as you can tell, they didn't steal anything.
Yes.
They've only killed the one guy that you know of, but there are people like from before. There's still a lot of chaos, but a lot of people are asking you if you've seen someone that's close to
All right.
them. If they're they were there in the
since
fight and they weren't trapped.
knowing what I know about everything, is it logical to imagine that I deduce that people have been kidnapped?
It's at this point, it's starting to look like there are a lot of people that are in absentia, and at one point, you witness one of the injured people, grab a hold of Haley's sleeve. Again, remember, like as she's walking by helping out, someone grabs a hold of her sleeve and says, "You need to help my sister. They took her." And that's when it clicks for you.
What?
Because goblins don't take prisoners.
Right,
Often.
exactly. Would I have reason to know why, or just that, I mean, besides the obvious, taking people is bad, probably for bad reasons to do bad things, or would I have any particulars of what those bad things may be?
Well, I mean, initially, red caps
Right.
need blood. So that's the first thought is A, they could be sacrifices to this thing. But then B, you're like, if it has a master and it took more than one person, if it took a lot of people, either it's intending to survive on its own out there in the wilderness for a while, which doesn't make any sense
Or
at
it
all.
wants to make more.
Yeah.
I stop. I stop what I'm doing, and immediately, louder than probably I should, I go, "Trackers! I need good and well-skilled trackers." Not necessarily saying it to anyone, but suddenly thinking it out loud, very loudly.
Sure.
Loud enough for the other.
You're just in the middle of the tent, like a whole bunch of people turn towards you. Like, what? Because like you were in the middle of discussing to someone how they should
Right.
bind their
Yes.
wound and
So
rebind their
I
wound,
said,
and you froze, and then this
yes.
comes out.
So I definitely have said it loud enough that the other two hear me.
And there's a person who's just staring at you, like you just yelled this into their face, and they're like, "What did I do?"
On the other side of the tent, the bird person who I named last week and apparently didn't save the character sheet. Now I can't remember what I named him, but I will remember it. I swear.
Bird person's great for now.
Yeah. He raises his hand to like indicate that he is like, I can do it. And halfway through the sentence, his hand was on a wound, and now that it's not on the wound, blood spurts out of the wound and like hits him in the face, and he's like, ah, and he like uses his other hand to cover his eye and then puts his hand down. He's like, I can, and he has one eye closed. He's like, I can kind of, well, I used to be able to see, but I can track people a little bit.
Good.
Yeah, and again, he's got feathers out at every odd angle. He looks like a windblown chicken.
Good. And I take a look for the halfling who was not touched, who I saw do crazy things and heard even crazier stories from other people. Is she around?
Yeah. The halfling who you have heard turned into a blade
Yeah.
tornado at one point. That she swirled up into the air and maintained herself aloft by whirling her
Yeah,
blade around.
craziness, but good enough.
That
I point at her and I say you venerable one.
I just yes.
I he goes I reckon I have more use for your blade, eh? Yeah, if more of these fell creatures, if slaying more of these fell creatures be something you desire, and I could use your, and if not, I could still use your help.
I give a slight smirk. I have no problem. I have no problem with killing. Do you have any problems with fats?
With fats? Oh,
Bats. Large nocturnal mammals.
but
Well,
he goes. No, I mean, not my first choice of delicacy, but I don't know, good Szechuan sauce.
I stomp my axe onto the ground, especially not for eating.
Oh, sure. Whatever. He goes. Gather your supplies and meet me out front of here as soon as I could. You, bird person, do the same. And I take off to go and pick up all of my equipment and return as quickly as possible.
okay.
He'll just like follow you, but like just abandoning the person that he was attempting to help.
All right.
I just kind of look around the tent. I realize I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, so I just kind of follow pursuit.
Sure. And I would like just this is going to be the last roll of tonight because we started later than I anticipated, and I know Ben's got to get. So I'm going to have you guys all just roll a quick perception check because I want to see who notices. Ta-da!
What?
Okay. All right. Nice.
I did okay.
You did, yeah. You did pretty good. Not surprisingly, because you just had blood spurted into your eye and you're still rubbing it out of the eye. You didn't pick up on it. But the Avender and Haley, you both note Avender for the first time. You realize that it's actually been for a little bit now. You've been being followed around the camp by someone, and you've just now noticed it because inexplicably they have maybe it's intentional that they've been hiding, but they're there. Haley, you notice it now too. Like you see like a vendor throw like a cautious glance, and you look the same way, and you see the figure. And they are a hooded and heavily coated individual. Slim, and in the shadows, but they are distinctly following you.
Can I?
And that's the end of tonight.
End?
What's up?
That's just the end. We just leave
That's
with
the
someone.
end. That's the end. Someone is following you. Someone shadowy.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, I'm sorry. I intended for this to go farther, but we don't have a lot of time for that. And I know you've got a Hidachi, and Ben's got Stargate to watch. So this is where I'm going to call it
Cool.
for tonight. But thank you all for coming. I think this is beautiful. I've got a perspective picture for Ben's character. now, or at least an idea for one. Here, let me see if I can find it.
All right.
There he is. Got him. Yeah, if you need to get.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I was just going to see if there was anything else that I need to know about, or if or I was just going to kill the stream then.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's it.